chosen one. Lean in, because what is happening to your spirit right now is not ordinary. It is divine, deliberate, and delivered to you in perfect heavenly timing. You did not click on this video by coincidence. No, your steps were orchestrated by the one who has been watching you, defending you, and guiding you through every quiet battle of righteousness. This is a divine appointment. You are standing at the threshold of a supernatural shift, a holy moment where heaven begins to release what earth could never give you. Chosen one. You took a dangerous risk for righteousness, and the Father is well pleased. You stood for truth when it cost you. You obeyed when no one applauded. You chose holiness when convenience called your name. And, just as it was written in 2 Chronicles chapter 16 verse 9, the eyes of the Lord have been searching for hearts like yours, fully committed, fully surrendered, fully aligned, anointed. One, hear this in your spirit. You are standing at the edge of a divine wealth transfer, a breakthrough so timely, so precise, that only God Himself could have arranged it. This is your moment of recognition. This is your moment of release. Heaven is opening something over your life right now. Chosen one. Listen closely. There is a reason your spirit is stirring right now. When you chose righteousness over convenience, you stepped into a spiritual current that only a few ever dare to enter. Heaven has been watching not with judgment, but with deep admiration. Because choosing righteousness is not soft. It is not passive. It is a dangerous, holy risk. And you took it. Righteousness. Chosen one will always feel like walking upstream while the whole world floats downstream. It feels like saying no when the crowd is screaming yes. It feels like letting go of something familiar so you can grab hold of something sacred. I know that feeling personally. I remember seasons where choosing the right thing cost me people, opportunities, comfort, and even my own confidence. I didn't feel holy, I just felt alone. But later, I realized that loneliness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And the same is happening for you. When heaven marked you, it didn't mark you for popularity, it marked you for purpose. Sometimes you can feel that pressure in your chest, like your whole life is narrowing into a smaller road. That's because the narrow road is where destiny lives. Jesus once spoke about that narrow road in Matthew chapter 7 verse 14, but more than a verse, it is a lived reality. The narrow path does not crush you, it clarifies you. Chosen one, you felt misunderstood. You felt like people treated you differently once you stopped blending in and started standing out. But that shift wasn't random. Righteousness exposes what convenience hides. And when you choose what is right in silence, heaven leans in loudly. That's why the spiritual atmosphere around you changed. You didn't lose people, you outgrew spiritual environments that could not hold the weight of your calling. Let me tell you something, I had to learn the hard way. Obedience almost never makes sense in the moment. It rarely comes with applause. It rarely comes with explanation. It often feels like letting go of the familiar and stepping into fog. But the fog is where faith grows, and faith is where your next breakthrough lives. Sometimes I think about Noah, not the Sunday school version, but the real man. A man building a massive boat under a clear sky, surrounded by people who thought he had lost his mind. That wasn't just carpentry, that was conviction, that was courage, that was obedience when obedience looked foolish. What he built in private became the reason he survived in public. And chosen one, whether you realize it or not, you've been building your own ark. Every act of obedience, every boundary you set, every temptation you resisted, another plank, added another nail sealed. And just like Noah, you don't see the rain yet. You don't see the breakthrough, you don't see the reward, but heaven does. Heaven always sees before earth manifests. Sometimes righteousness feels like rejection, but it's not rejection, it's redirection. It's heaven saying, I'm pulling you away from what would have destroyed you later. People may walk away, opportunities may collapse, relationships may shift, but none of it is loss. All of it is alignment. Chosen. One, hear this, you are not being punished, you are being positioned. And what you're being positioned for is bigger than you imagine, because the risk you took is about to reveal a reward that only God could orchestrate. Chosen one. As we move deeper into this word, I need you to understand something many people never realize. When you chose righteousness, you stepped into a spiritual battlefield you could not see. Not everyone around you understood it, and honestly, not even you fully understood the weight of what you were doing. You simply felt a pull, a tug in your spirit, an inner knowing you could not ignore. That pull was heaven's hand guiding you. That tug was divine alignment whispering, this is the way, walk in it. And the moment you obeyed, something shifted in the unseen realm, because obedience always triggers movement. Always. Chosen one. I know you've had moments where you questioned yourself, moments where you wondered, did I make the right choice? Did I lose something I should have kept? Did I stand too firmly for what is right? I've had those moments too. When righteousness costs you relationships, comfort, reputation, or stability, the human heart begins to doubt its own strength, but your spirit knows better. Deep down, your spirit recognizes that obedience to God will never lead you into loss. It always leads you through loss, into life. What you walked away from was never your future. What you released was never your destiny. What you surrendered was never meant to carry you into your next season. You didn't lose, you exchanged. You traded what was temporary for what is eternal. You traded what was convenient for what was consecrating you. You traded what was safe for what was sacred. And heaven has been responding to that exchange ever since. If you could see the spiritual ledger with your name on it, you would break down. Your obedience, those moments no one else saw, have been recorded, honored, and magnified by heaven. Every time you said no to something your flesh wanted, angels took note. Every time you walked away from something toxic, even when your heart was trembling, it was written down. Every time you chose truth over convenience, peace over pettiness, restraint over retaliation, heaven applauded. And here is the truth many never grasp. Righteousness invites warfare because righteousness carries weight. When you chose what was right, you became a threat. Hell does not fight casual believers. Hell fights surrendered believers. Hell fights obedient believers. Hell fights chosen ones who walk with holy conviction. That is why you felt resistance. That is why you felt pressure. That is why your atmosphere shifted. But pressure is never punishment. It is proof that something divine is forming. It means heaven is preparing to release something with your name on it. I know what it feels like to stand at that crossroads. I remember seasons where obedience demanded everything: my pride, my comfort, my people, my plans. I remember nights where I laid awake, wondering if choosing what was right ruined my life. But what I thought was the end was actually the doorway. What I thought was loss was actually elevation. What I thought was collapse was actually construction. And chosen one, the same God who carried me through that fire, is carrying you now. He is not just carrying you, he is building you, shaping you, positioning you for a blessing so personal, so precise, that when it arrives, you will know it came from him alone. Your risk is about to turn into reward. Your obedience is about to open a door no man can shut. Your faithfulness is about to become your evidence. Chosen one. As we step into this next layer of your journey, I need you to recognize something sacred about the season you're standing in. Heaven has been watching the weight you've carried, the quiet battles you fought, the moments you wanted to collapse but chose to keep going. This is not a season of random pressure. It is a season of divine shaping. You have been feeling stretched, pulled, pressed, and misunderstood because God is enlarging the capacity of your spirit to hold what is coming. Breakthrough requires internal expansion. Elevation requires internal endurance. And you, anointed one, have been walking through a divine conditioning that most people never see, let alone survive. There were days you woke up feeling spiritually bruised, not because you failed, but because you were fighting battles higher than your last level. You've been facing warfare that did not match your environment because your calling does not match your environment. The enemy wasn't attacking you based on where you were, he was attacking you based on where you're going. And deep down, you felt it. You felt the shift, the heaviness, the spiritual pressure that made no sense, especially considering how hard you've tried to walk uprightly. But pressure is proof you're carrying purpose. Pressure is proof you're stepping into new territory. Pressure is proof that heaven is preparing a release so significant that hell trembling was the only logical reaction. And I want you to notice something about yourself. Even when you didn't feel strong, you stayed faithful. Even when you didn't have clarity, you kept walking. Even when you didn't hear God loudly, you kept obeying. That is the kind of obedience that moves heaven. That is the kind of consistency that triggers divine acceleration. You might not realize it yet, but you haven't been walking, God has been pulling you. Every time you questioned if you could make it, something pulled you forward anyway. That was grace. Every time you thought this was the end, something inside whispered, not yet. That was purpose. Every time you felt alone, but somehow kept surviving, that was heaven holding your spirit together. Chosen one, what you see as survival, heaven sees as qualification. You didn't break under pressure, you were refined under pressure. There's gold on you now. There's weight on you now. There's authority on you now. You didn't just endure the storm, you learned how to walk through it without losing your identity. And now, heaven is about to respond. What you carried privately is about to be honored publicly. What you survived in silence is about to be rewarded in the open. This is the part of your story where everything starts aligning without you forcing anything. The people meant for your next season start finding you. The doors meant for your purpose start opening by themselves. The opportunities meant for your anointing begin to recognize your name. You're stepping into a season where obedience becomes overflow, where sacrifice becomes supernatural acceleration, where the very risks you took for righteousness become the reason God elevates you. And hear me clearly, you are closer than you think. The shift is not coming, it has begun. Chosen one, as we continue, I need you to understand the magnitude of where you now stand. You are no longer in the season of blind endurance. You are entering the season of divine revelation. This is the moment where everything that felt confusing begins to make quiet, holy sense. The dots start connecting. The pressure you carried starts revealing its purpose. The silence you endured starts speaking. Heaven is pulling back the curtain, and for the first time in a long time, you're beginning to see why God allowed certain things to break, bend, shift, or disappear. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Every tear, every boundary, every moment of obedience was part of a blueprint crafted specifically for your destiny. I've lived through seasons where I begged God to explain himself, only to hear nothing but stillness. And now, looking back, I realize the silence wasn't absence, it was strategy. God wasn't ignoring me, he was insulating me. He was protecting my spirit from voices that would have talked me out of my calling. He was pruning connections that couldn't carry the next version of me. And chosen. 1. He has been doing the same for you. You didn't lose people, you were unyoked from people who couldn't walk into your future. You didn't lose opportunities, you were redirected away from what would have drained your anointing. You didn't lose relationships, you were released from emotional weights that would have slowed down your acceleration. Heaven has been editing your life, removing what could not remain once the blessing arrives. And that blessing is closer than your breath. You've been asking God for clarity, and clarity is coming, but not in the way you imagined. It won't arrive as a booming announcement. It won't arrive as a dramatic sign. It will arrive as alignment. Everything that fits your next season will begin gravitating toward you without force. Everything that doesn't belong will start falling away without fight. That is how divine order looks. That is what supernatural structure feels like. The shift is already active around you. You've been sensing it, you just didn't have language for it. You feel the old version of you fading. You feel your desires changing. You feel your spirit craving peace more than attention, truth more than validation, purpose more than comfort. That's not random growth. That's spiritual maturity birthed through obedience. That's God stretching your identity to match the size of your calling. Chosen one. This is the part where everything you endured becomes fuel. You're stepping into a season where burdens turn into blessings, where risks turn into rewards, where loneliness turns into divine connection. Heaven is bringing helpers, aligners, and destiny carriers to you, people who see your value without needing explanation, people who recognize your anointing without needing proof, people who were positioned by God to walk with you into this next chapter. And hear me this time, you won't have to chase anything. You won't have to beg for acceptance or fight for recognition. God is removing the striving from your story and replacing it with supernatural flow. What used to drain you will now bless you. What used to frighten you will now strengthen you. What used to confuse you will now confirm you. You are stepping into the season where heaven begins to make it obvious your obedience was seen, your sacrifice was recorded, and your reward is already in motion. Chosen one, get ready. The next part of your story is not survival. It is unveiling. Chosen one. As we move into this next part, I need you to breathe for a moment and recognize something profoundly holy. You are no longer who you were when this journey began. You have been transformed by trials that were meant to break you, but instead built you. You've been stretched by battles that were meant to drain you, but instead deepened you. And even though you may not fully see it yet, there is a new strength rising in you, a quiet, steady, unshakable strength that only comes from walking with God through fire. The truth is, you didn't just survive what tried to destroy you, you evolved because of it. Heaven has been molding you like clay, shaping your character, sharpening your discernment, and fortifying your spirit so you can carry the weight of your next assignment. You have been learning the kind of resilience that can't be taught in comfort. You've gained wisdom that can't be learned from books. You've cultivated depth that can't be formed in shallow places. Everything you walked through has sculpted you into someone who can be trusted with influence, authority, and unapologetic spiritual power. And chosen one, that is exactly why your next season is going to look nothing like your last. The spiritual fog is lifting. The heaviness is breaking. The warfare is weakening. You are entering a chapter where clarity flows, where insight sharpens, where decisions become easier, because your spirit finally knows what is yours and what isn't. You're no longer trying to prove yourself to people who never had the capacity to understand you. You're no longer shrinking to fit rooms you've outgrown. You're no longer apologizing for the calling on your life. You've shed the old version of yourself, and now heaven is preparing to reveal the version that was forged in obedience and fire. I've walked through seasons where I felt like everything in me was being undone, only to discover that the undoing was actually an unveiling. God wasn't stripping me for punishment. He was stripping me for purpose. He was removing the noise so I could hear him clearly. He was removing distractions so I could move with intention. He was removing familiar comforts so I would finally grow into my mantle. And I see that same divine pattern unfolding over your life. You are stepping into a new level of spiritual maturity where you won't respond the way you used to, you won't settle the way you used to, and you won't tolerate what you once did. The grace on you now is different. The fire on you now is stronger. The anointing on you now is heavier. And because of that, heaven is about to trust you with opportunities that require deeper roots doors, that require a stronger back, and blessings that require a purer heart. This is the season where God begins to repay what was taken, restore what was broken, and rebuild what was lost. But more than that, this is the season where God reveals who you truly are. You're not just someone who endured hardship. You're someone who carries oil. You're not just someone who stayed faithful. You're someone who carries authority. You're not just someone who obeyed quietly. You're someone whose obedience is about to speak loudly. Chosen one. Heaven is preparing to spotlight what you cultivated in secret. The reward is closer than you think. Chosen one. As we step into this next revelation, I want you to understand the weight of what's happening in your life right now. You are transitioning from a season of internal formation to a season of external manifestation. What God has been building inside you, quietly, privately, patiently, is about to emerge in ways that even you won't fully believe at first. For a long time, it felt like nothing was moving. It felt like you were praying into a void, obeying into silence, sacrificing into emptiness. But heaven was not ignoring you. Heaven was incubating you. Breakthroughs that come quickly rarely last, but breakthroughs birthed through endurance become unshakable foundations. And chosen one, yours is the kind that lasts. You've been walking through a divine slow cooking process, not because God was delaying you, but because he was deepening you. Your roots had to go down before your fruit could come up. Your faith had to stretch before your influence could expand. Your character had to be refined before your calling could be revealed. What God is building in you requires depth, strength, and spiritual stamina. And whether you see it or not, you have all three. You didn't quit when quitting was easy. You didn't fold when pressure intensified. You didn't lose your identity when life tested your resolve. That perseverance is the reason you're stepping into a supernatural shift right now. Heaven does not release heavy assignments to shallow spirits, and you, chosen one, are anything but shallow. I've been in seasons where I couldn't tell whether I was being buried or planted. Everything looked dark, silent, and hidden. But with time, I realized something: God hides what he intends to reveal with power. He conceals what carries value. He protects what is still forming. When God hides you, it's not rejection, it's preservation. You weren't overlooked. You were safeguarded. You weren't forgotten. You were fortified. The quiet seasons, the lonely seasons, the misunderstood seasons, they were all wrapping you in divine protection, so the enemy could not sabotage what God was growing in you. And now the soil above you is starting to split. You're breaking through, you're rising, you're emerging into visibility, into authority, into an identity that finally matches your assignment. This is why everything in your spirit feels different lately. You're craving solitude, but not isolation. You're craving purpose over pleasure. You're craving alignment over attention. These cravings are signs of spiritual maturity, evidence that the old you has died and the anointed you has risen. And because of that rise, expect movement. Expect divine connections. Expect impossible doors to open with supernatural ease. Expect provisions to appear where you once saw lack. When heaven decides it's time to elevate you, no resistance can stop it, no enemy can cancel it, and no delay can hold it hostage. You're entering a season where the very ground beneath your feet becomes fertile again. Ideas will flow, strength will return, opportunities will multiply, not because you're striving, but because you're aligned. God is about to breathe on everything you touch, and the shift that is happening in your spirit is the confirmation. Chosen one, you are stepping into a divine unveiling. The hidden version of you is finished. The revealed version is just beginning. Chosen one. As we move into this next revelation, I want you to feel the gravity of what heaven is setting in motion around your life. You are shifting into a realm where the things that once intimidated you now bow to the authority you carry. This is not confidence born from ego. This is strength born from survival, forged through spiritual endurance, shaped by trials that demanded you grow or be crushed. And you grew, you rose, you endured. Because of that, you now carry a spiritual weight that cannot be faked or borrowed. It can only be earned through obedience. You've entered a point in your journey where heaven begins to trust you with things that were previously out of reach. Not because you are perfect, but because you are aligned. You've been emptied of the distractions, the illusions, and the attachments that once diluted your discernment. Now, your hearing is sharper. Your vision is clearer. Your spirit is steadier. You are ready in ways you don't even see yet. And this readiness is exactly why the enemy has been trembling. He knows what's coming before you do. He senses the shift, the activation, the assignment unfolding over your life. He recognizes the signs of a chosen one stepping into full spiritual identity. And when a chosen one knows who they are, hell loses its leverage. You no longer respond to old triggers. You no longer accept watered-down connections. You no longer tolerate anything that drains your spirit. The things that once pulled you out of alignment no longer have the power to touch you. You've grown beyond them. You've matured past them. And because of that maturity, heaven is getting ready to release strategies, ideas, relationships, and opportunities that match the upgraded spiritual version of you. You are stepping into a season where divine timing will become obvious. Moments will feel orchestrated. Conversations will feel appointed. Encounters will feel supernatural. Doors will open without effort. People will appear with answers you didn't ask for out loud. This is how heaven operates when a chosen one reaches spiritual readiness. I've lived through seasons where I thought God was silent, but in truth, He was organizing everything behind the scenes. It was only when I reached a certain level of surrender that the pieces started falling into place like they were always meant to. And chosen one, the same pattern is unfolding in your life. You didn't miss your moment, you were being shaped for it. You weren't being delayed, you were being developed. Now heaven is ready to entrust you with more because you've proven yourself faithful with little. You didn't compromise your integrity when it would have been easier. You didn't abandon your values when culture pressured you. You didn't silence your spirit to gain acceptance. That level of integrity is rare. That level of obedience is noticed. Heaven does not overlook hearts like yours. And now the reward is coming. Not just financial breakthrough, though that is part of it. Not just spiritual elevation, though that is unfolding too. But recognition, real recognition from heaven and earth. The kind that says, this one has been tested, this one has endured, this one is ready. You are entering the season where you will walk into rooms and feel the atmosphere shift. Not because of your presence alone, but because of the spiritual authority you carry. What once seemed impossible will now begin to flow. What once felt unreachable will now feel natural. You are stepping into a season where heaven is not just supporting you, it is partnering with you. The divine and the earthly are aligning on your behalf. This is your time of holy emergence. Chosen one. As we enter this final segment, I want you to hear this with every part of your spirit. You are stepping into a season where everything that once worked against you will begin to work for you. The winds have shifted. The atmosphere has changed. The same pressure that once made you question your worth is now becoming the force that pushes you into promotion. This is the divine reversal you've been sensing, the moment where God takes what was meant to break you and uses it to build you. You're no longer standing in the shadow of what you survived. You're stepping into the spotlight of who you've become because of it. What once felt like punishment is now revealing itself as preparation. What once felt like delay is revealing itself as divine timing, and what once felt like isolation is revealing itself as God positioning you for visibility that is spiritually protected, not publicly exposed. You're entering a moment where heaven is not just opening doors, it's escorting you through them. This season is not about striving, it's about stepping. It's about recognizing the cues of heaven and moving in sync with divine timing. There will be opportunities in front of you that feel too big, too bold, too unfamiliar, yet something inside you will say, "This is mine." That inner knowing is not your imagination, it's confirmation. You're no longer the version of yourself that needed reassurance from the world. You have built a relationship with God that teaches you to trust His whispers more than the noise around you. And because of this trust, you're about to be moved into spaces designed for the anointed version of you, not the striving version, not the insecure version, not the wounded version. Heaven is elevating the healed you, the strengthened you, the spiritually awakened you. And listen carefully, you are not walking into this new season empty-handed. Everything you learned, everything you lost, everything you released has become spiritual currency. Your tears have become seeds. Your endurance has become oil. Your obedience has become evidence that heaven can trust you with more. The reward coming to you is not random, it is earned through integrity, secured through sacrifice, and accelerated through alignment. I've lived through moments where breakthrough came suddenly, quietly, and without warning. One day, everything looked the same, and the next day, everything changed. And chosen one, that is exactly what is about to happen for you. You are entering the season of sudden shifts. Not fragile blessings, but blessings built on the foundation of everything God has been cultivating in you. Not temporary breakthroughs, but transformative ones that alter the trajectory of your life. Expect divine resources to find you. Expect unexpected favor to surround you. Expect divine partnerships, financial openings, and supernatural clarity. You are not stepping into a blessing, you are stepping into a cycle of blessings, a rhythm of provision, a flow of breakthrough, a pattern of divine endorsement, and the most powerful part, you're ready. Not because you feel ready, but because God has declared you ready. Heaven has stamped approval on your spirit. The season of testing has been completed. The season of hiddenness has served its purpose. Now is the season of unveiling reward, recognition, and divine promotion. Chosen one, step forward without fear. Step forward without hesitation. Step forward knowing the God who carried you through the valley is the same God elevating you on the mountain. Your dangerous risk for righteousness has become the very reason heaven is releasing this next level over your life. This is your moment. This is your rise. This is your divine reward. Chosen one. As we come to the close of this sacred moment, let your spirit breathe in what heaven has been whispering over you. You are standing in your Kairos moment. Nothing about this word, this timing, or this alignment is accidental. You took a dangerous risk for righteousness, and now the supernatural transfer has already begun moving in your direction. The shift is not coming, it's here. Heaven has marked your obedience, honored your endurance, and responded to your sacrifice with divine acceleration. Chosen one. You are stepping into a season where what was sown in silence will rise in glory, where hidden faithfulness becomes public favor, and where every risk you took for God becomes the very reason He elevates you. May the peace of the Father surround you, the strength of the Son empower you, and the fire of the Holy Spirit guide your steps with clarity and boldness. You walk now under open heavens. You walk now in divine timing. You walk now in supernatural alignment. Step forward with confidence, for what's being released to you cannot be delayed, denied, or diminished. It is yours by divine appointment. If this word stirred your spirit, chosen one, feel free to share what you're believing for in the comments. Your testimony may ignite someone else's faith. And if you desire to stay connected to more messages like this, words of warning, alignment, activation, and purpose, you're welcome to subscribe and journey with us. Go now in strength, in peace, and in holy expectancy. Your reward is already in motion. Heaven is well pleased.